Welcome to episode 33 of the We Are Auto Show. Man, 33 episodes deep. What's new, Derek?
33 episodes, so we're over a half of a year, but we're not quite up to the year. We're coming up on it. Not too much is up with me. We did go recently to a little car show, and we're going to have some chat about that. But we also went to a little dinner with the females, or the wives.
Yes.
And in that dinner that we went to, we happened to go to a place. We originally wanted to go to Ford's Garage, which is a car-themed place that we've both... have you been to there yet?
I have been, not to that one, but I've been to a Ford's Garage.
Okay, I've never been to one, but the wait time was 2 hours, so we abandoned that mission real fast.
Yes, abort.
And we ended up going to a place that actually had the local Camaro meet going on.
Yeah, brother. Completely unintentional, too. Didn't know they were going to be there.
Now, I like me some muscle cars. Got no problem with muscle cars, but the crowd, the Camaro crowd they're an interesting crowd.
Oh, boy, are they ever. What does a Camaro owner look like to you, Derek? Do they look like a Corvette owner, or what's different about them?
No, they do not look like a Corvette owner. They're a blend between a Corvette owner and a fake baller.
Yes, sir. Oh my God, that's the best way to put it. Yes, 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 yes. 1,000 times yes.
And those
Corvette
are
owner
very contradicting
meets
things
fake
as well.
baller. Yes. Oh, you're right. They contradict so well and horribly and well and great and awful and horrendous and perfect. All of the adjectives you could use to describe it is what Camaro owners are.
They're characters. I don't want to rag on them too much. They seem like really nice people when we were hanging out with them. So, long story short, you have some neighbors that are there.
It's funny. I do. So I live in an apartment complex, and I go out for a run every morning. And when I'm on my run, there's always it's like either husband and wife or boyfriend or girlfriend that are always getting into their cars pretty much the exact same time that I'm out running every morning. And they both drive the exact same kind of car in just a different color. And they both drive a Camaro SS convertible. I don't know, some sort of like 50th anniversary version or 30th or however many anniversary. But they have like a special version Camaro. They both have the exact same special version Camaro. They're both convertible. One's silver, one's black. End.
So who parks in the garage?
It makes you think. I think there is one more key difference. I think one is a manual and one is an automatic. So there's that.
I could never see me and my wife having two convertible Camaros. There's no way.
I mean, it's kind of hard to just imagine living with, like, picturing yourself with one convertible Camaro. Because of all the Camaros you get a convertible Camaro.
Right.
But not only do you get one, you have two per household. That's a lot of convertible Camaros per household.
Do you know if they have another car?
I think those are just their only two cars.
Holy
I think they're
moly.
They're way well above the national average of convertible Camaros per household.
Yes. That's an interesting choice for your two vehicles in your household.
I guess for some people it is the perfect two-car solution. Not for me, I would say, though.
No, not for I think 99% of people. Yeah. Interesting nonetheless. Anyway, let's get this show going with some news. Is there anything that we should chat about?
Sure. So let's actually go back to something that we had talked about previously, the new Acura Integra. So we talked about the Integra. Oh, I don't even remember. It must have been a few shows ago or something like that. And when we were talking about the Integra, I was griping that they said it's not going to be a two-door, it's going to be a four-door, and that made me a little butthurt and all that. But rejoice, car enthusiasts, because Acura has confirmed that it is coming out with a 6-speed manual transmission. Save the manuals, baby.
That is very, very good news. I am stoked to hear that it sounds like they are going to keep the purity of that car.
I hope so. Now, the purity of the Integra would mean that it's manual transmission, front wheel drive, and two doors. So far we've got one, and now I'm being a little picky here. I'm being an Integra purist. Leave me alone. But we've got one of the main key components of the purist Integra. But here's where I'm not so sure how I feel. They've said that there's a real high likelihood that it could be an all-wheel drive car, not front-wheel drive.
Why
Hmm.
would you do that to
Here's
a car like this that has the heritage that it does?
here's why. Because they want to sell it for more than the Civic, and they want to differentiate it from the Civic because it's essentially just a Civic.
Hmm. Okay, I understand that point of view, but I'm not a fan of it.
And that's my exact same thought. Was I get it, right? You're Acura, you're the luxury side of Honda, you're the fancier schmancier side, maybe a little bit more performance side, but that's kind of going unintegra-ish. That's not very integrish, if you may say.
The Integra's always been in that ballpark, right? Like, if you can afford the Integra, you're over the Civic. It's always
Yeah.
been there. You know you're getting basically the same car with a couple more bells and whistles.
Hmm.
It seems to do well, so I don't really know why they're changing the formula.
Yeah, it seems like, there's been this, grandma's secret cookie recipe that's been passed down for years and years and years. And it's gone from, add a cup of chocolate chips to now a quarter cup of chocolate chips. And that just seems like it's not going to taste quite as good as it did before.
Ah, we'll see when the rest of the specs come out of this car. Maybe it'll just like blow the Civic out of proportions, and maybe it'll just be dumb fast in all-wheel drive. Um, but that doesn't seem like the heritage of the Integra. That's not
Yeah,
what.
exactly. That's not really what the Integra is. The Integra is supposed to be a fun little handful of a front wheel drive, revving, great handling car. Um, and it's probably going to be all-wheel drive. One quick note about the Integra, though, is that I've got a quote here from the article, is that Acura has previously said that once the NSX is discontinued, so we know that they're discontinuing the NSX with their Type S, right? We've talked about that.
Mhm.
The new Integra is supposed to serve as its halo model, despite being the least expensive vehicle in their entire model lineup, and that they're hoping to put a Type S like performance variant in the mix of the Integra. So that's kind of strange, that dynamic, right? Because as car manufacturers, everyone's like, yeah, our flagship model is the most expensive. It's the one with all the bells and whistles. Like, take, for example, Lamborghini, right? And I know this is kind of apples and oranges, but you get the analogy here. Lamborghini, their flagship model at the moment is really essentially the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. It's like the most loudest, harshest, fastest, most expensive, most all of the things. It's the one that has the highest number of all the things that could be a number. And this is so backwards with what Acura is going to do. When the NSX dies off, they're going to make the Integra the new flagship, which, cool, great, but the Integra was never meant to be a flagship model. It was meant to be like an entry level sports coupe that you could hoon around, that was just a great little fun handling, high revving, lightweight little coupe.
Well, this is very confusing to me. Why would you take your flagship that starts at like 160 or something like that, the NSX currently, and pay like take your lowest, most almost cheapest car? It
It no, it will.
probably
It is the cheapest. The Integra, when it comes out, it is by far the cheapest. It's gonna be like a 30, maybe $40,000 car.
what?
That doesn't make sense to me. I'm so confused. Acura, I get it. That's cool because you're bringing back the old school, but a flagship model is not the cheapest model. Maybe
Whoa.
I'm just crazy, but yeah,
Yeah, no, that one's got me all sorts of backwards and upside down and confused. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. if you're trying to decide what you want to build. Do you want to build a cheap homage to the old Integra, or do you want to build the new NSX? And if you're building the new NSX, don't price it at 40 grand. Like, you could make an $80,000 BMW competitor or a Mercedes competitor that's all-wheel drive and a sporty looking car, and people would buy it.
Yeah.
But why would you price it so low, and why would you use the badging of the Integra?
I don't know. Yeah, this is just more news on the Integra that's got me scratching my head a little bit. I mean, they've got a manual. Great. Absolutely excited, stoked, super happy to see that. But it's not a 2-door, it's a 4-door, and it's probably not front-wheel drive. It's probably all-wheel drive, and it's going to be the flagship model. That's just confusing.
Yeah. I'll be curious to hear more news on that car as it trickles out, because that's very odd to me.
Yeah, me too. So let's move on from the Integra. What you got for us, Derek?
Okay, so I have a report that came out from the National Insurance Crime Bureau, which didn't know that was a thing, but I'm kind of glad it is, because it sounds like it'd be pretty useful as to whatever they're working on, crime and insurance and whatnot. They released their Hot Wheels list, which is detailing the most stolen vehicles in 2020.
The most stolen vehicles in 2020.
The most stolen.
All right.
They actually give 10. I'm just going to give you the top 5. So what off the top of your head, where do you first go when you hear the most stolen vehicles?
So my brain automatically goes to a Civic. And now here's why. Back when I was getting my license, I remember talks that Civics were always the most commonly stolen cars because they were easy to get a hold of. There was a lot of them, and you could flip their parts for dirt cheap in a chop shop somewhere, and they were super easy to peel apart. That's what I heard. Don't know if it's true or not, but my brain automatically goes Civic.
That is a reasonable assumption. I have heard before, and I've seen a video, that it is very easy to pop the locks out of like trucks if you jam a screwdriver in their lock mechanism in a certain way. Usually it's like underneath the actual door handle part of the lock. It can apparently pop a lever somewhere that just breaks the lock completely, opens the doors, and you're good to go. So my first thought was trucks. But I'll give you the top 5, and I'll give you some numbers about them.
Okay.
So coming in at number 5 is a Toyota Camry, with 15,000 of them stolen, and the most stolen model year was 2007.
You know, that actually surprisingly makes a lot of sense. I mean, 16,000 Camrys stolen mostly in the year 2007. It seems like a car that's basic enough to steal, like you don't have all sorts of crazy gizmos and gadgets, and it's common enough to where they just blend in. That makes sense. Camry makes sense. Yep.
And this was a study done across the U.S. It did come in number 3 in the state of Florida, which was kind of interesting. Number 4, with 30,000 of them stolen, and the most stolen model year being 1997, we have a Honda Accord.
A 97 Accord is the most... Okay. Steal something better than that, please.
That's
Jesus
an old car.
Christ.
That thing it'll run, but it's going to be
it'll run forever. It'll run all the way to Mexico. It'll get across the border easy, or Canada, or whatever border you're going to cross it. So here's something that sticks out to me right off the bat. The Camry you said was 15 or 16,000 stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And the Accord is over 30,000?
30,000.
That's almost double. That's almost double the amount of them stolen from the 5th to the 4th place in terms of how many are stolen. That's a big jump in my eyes.
It was the most stolen vehicle in 2020, or at least model vehicle, for Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, all up in the Northeast, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, North Carolina, just the Northeast quadrant of the U.S., everyone stole Honda Accords, apparently.
So here's my question then. Do Honda Accords do really good in the Rust Belt in the snow, crappy climate? Because apparently everyone's stealing them for the winters, I guess. I don't know.
I guess so. Anyway, let's move on.
Interesting.
Number 3, with 32,000 of them stolen, and the model year being 2004 for the most stolen, it was a Chevrolet full-size pickup, baby.
And this is just over the Honda Accord.
This is just
A
over the Honda
Silverado?
Accord, a Silverado.
This is a Silverado. Huh.
Mhm.
Interesting. Interesting. A Silverado.
We'll keep on cruising. At number 2 with 33,000, so right just barely beat it out. The last one was 32,500. This one's 33,200, so not even 1,000 difference. The most stolen model year was 2000, and it was a Honda Civic. You called it.
Boom. Mic drop.
In number 1 in California, Minnesota, Nevada, Oregon, and Utah, and Washington. So it seems like out west, a lot of Civics were stolen.
They do like a lot of Civics out west. That's a weird. It's funny when you start looking at data. These weird anomalies. It's like, wait, what? These trends are just so odd.
Yeah, I would never guess that. The number 1 with 38,000, almost 39,000, and the model year that was most stolen is 2006. Can you give me a guess? Your best guess. I'll give you some states.
I mean,
Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Mexico, South Carolina, Texas, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Everywhere.
it's all over the map. It's not just like the Northeast. It's not just like the Northwest. Florida, Colorado, Hawaii, Kentucky. What?
Everywhere.
What? God damn, I've got no clue. What? I have not a clue. Civic is still my guess, but obviously that's number 2.
What's the one truck company we haven't talked about that sells the most trucks?
Oh, Ford. So it's got to be like an F-150 or something like that.
It's the F-Series Fords.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because we've talked about how, like, the quantity of them that is built and sold. I mean, I guess if you keep throwing spaghetti on the wall, I guess you're going to end up with enough spaghetti on the wall because you just make so many of them that statistically there's so many more of them to get stolen. I guess that makes that.
And I believe that this is the like lock mechanism that I was talking about earlier, where you just jam a screwdriver in a certain way with one hammer tap, and it basically unlocks the whole entire truck, and you can go take anything you want. You can't like hotwire the truck unless you're really good at what you're doing, but it definitely will get you in, and it's a pain in the ass for people to go get it fixed. I believe that in the like the Ford repair shops, the guys who repair these are just, it is so prevalent. It's ridiculous. They hate it.
So that's just like a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
You just go to like a truck repair shop, and it's just like, what are you here for? Oh, my locks got broken again.
Yeah, they will bring an F-Series truck with a broken driver's side lock that has a screwdriver hole in it, and you're like, oh. It happened again.
These pesky kids.
Yeah.
Damn. Interesting statistics there on, what is being stolen, where it's being stolen, how much is being stolen. That does make some logical sense with how the F-150 or the F-Series itself is the number 1 most stolen, because it just makes so damn many of them.
Mm-hmm. And based on the report, it was nearly 40,000, which is kind of interesting.
That's a lot of stolen trucks. Wow.
It is.
In 1 year.
In 1 year.
In 1 year. That's the crazy thing, is like, it's not like it's been 40 years. It's just like 1 year they stole 40,000 of them. What the frig? That's insane.
Wild.
Very. So I've actually got something else to chat about.
Let's hear it.
So, you know how we've talked about all this fancy new tech that goes into these new cars nowadays? I know you talk a lot more about it, like AI and all that kind of crazy mumbo jumbo that I don't understand the half of. But there's actually a funny new study that shows that the majority of people that are buying new cars actually aren't even using like any of the new tech that goes into it.
Really?
Yeah, it's hilarious. So it means it's essentially just like tech for tech's sake. They're not even like, it's not like actually making things better. It's just making things just more for the sake of more, not more for the sake of better. So I know you're gonna look at me like I'm crazy because I'm the dinosaur and you're not, right? You're gonna be the one mutually accepted with the cyborgs. I will resist on a mountaintop forever. But There's been a study by JD Power. We all know them. They're the ones that have those ridiculous studies in the like the Chevy ads and all that. Like number one most consumer dissatisfied, satisfied, whatever shit that I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. But according to their study, it's that most people like they actually don't use the wild tech that's in these new cars. Now this is their 2021 U.S. Tech Experience Index study. Wow, how much do you not want to work for them? So I'm going to pull a quote here. For more than 1 in 3 advanced technologies, fewer than half of owners have used the technology in the first 90 days of ownership of that car. So essentially what that's saying is that like there's like you buy a car and like all the new fancy stuff, you don't even touch it. You just do the same thing. You program your radio to radio 1 93.3 and radio 2 to 107.9, and you get Sirius XM, the trial that comes for free, and then you don't renew the trial because no one cares about Sirius XM unless you're getting it for free. And then you got the Bluetooth, so everyone listens to their podcast or their music, and that's kind of it.
All right, I got some thoughts here. I wonder who they surveyed, because that makes a big difference, and you know it does.
You might be right.
What percentage of that survey was millennials versus my parents, who I guarantee you are not using the tech in their car? And I wonder if all of the people or a lot of the people that they surveyed are not using the tech in their car because they're just sitting on their phone the whole time they're in their car anyway.
So that's actually part of the study that I want to talk about. So apparently in this study, over half of them, and it says there was over 110,000 owners that were surveyed after 90 days of ownership, have said that they never use driver or passenger communication technology. And there's a quote there. Driver or passenger communicate. That means what that's telling me is like, that means they're not using Bluetooth hands-free.
No, they're using their phone.
And and we know that people use their phone. I see it every day.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, what that's telling us is that people aren't necessarily texting and driving, and they're not necessarily talking to people over the phone. It's that they're actually on their phones because they're scrolling through Facebook.
Right.
Like they're not actually trying to do something productive. They're literally just bored with life and feel the need to escape while they're driving down the road at 102 feet per second.
Even if the car manufacturers have to keep up with the Joneses, right? If Tesla is going to put a whole bunch of tech in their cars, they're going to be forced to, over the next 5 years, basically try to catch up to that. Because whoever sets the bar is the one you got to go chase in the tech industry at the moment. And that is annoying for car manufacturers to do, even if the people who are driving the cars aren't using the tech to the fullest extent. But as our generation gets older, I have a feeling that this percentage is going to creep and creep and creep up. And to a point where a lot of people probably will be using the tech in their cars. I don't really know how much more tech you can pack into the cars without it becoming like not really a driving experience anymore.
Yeah, well, what are we doing? We're not so another part of this study that I want to quickly touch on is that I saw 61% of the surveyed users don't use, quote, digital market technology, which apparently is some sort of tech speak for like in-car shopping apps or functions like that. So I'd like to say just hold the phone. What the hell? Why are we as manufacturers putting in-car shopping? Why is this a thing? What are we doing?
What? I work in digital advertising in the automotive space. What is in-car shopping?
I don't know. But it sounds like it's just literally manufacturers are now just putting technology in the car to make people more distracted. What the hell is going on here? Are you kidding me?
In-car shopping apps or functions. No idea what that is. I can tell you I would not be scrolling through Facebook Marketplace on my car's display I'd probably have the maps up or something more relevant.
You see, you're approaching this with a logical brain, Derek. we we know that the majority of people that we see on the roads do not operate by the use of logic.
Okay.
So there's that.
So then maybe they rather would have their Instagram or Facebook newsfeed up on the dashboard of their car, and you could do digital advertising to them, and you could push shopping ads to them.
What a world we live in. Jesus Christ. What a world we live in. That's all I got to say.
This is a wild survey.
It is a wild survey. Now, there's another tech that I want to talk about.
Okay.
So, and they've also reported that this is just a completely useless tech and it's stupid, which, as someone that, once I get into it, has heard about this, I absolutely understand this is useless. But did you know that in a lot of new cars, they're putting this tech where you can like operate the media center, the controls, the radio, stuff like that by using hand gestures. So, for example, a friend of mine, my dad's, that he got a new BMW, I think the X5 SUV, so brand new. He was telling us that there's this new tech in it where you're driving down the road and then you go, okay, I'd like to change the radio, or I'd like to skip to the next song. So instead of using the thumb controls on the steering wheel or using the voice control of, hey, Siri, next song, or whatever the case it is, he told me what you have to do is you have to take your hand off the wheel and then you motion in front of the media, the control panel, like you spin your hand and say next song like this. Okay.
That's interesting.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Oh my God, what are we doing? Like, if you want to pause it, you can just put your hand up and just go pause.
Yeah.
What are we doing? What is this? Okay, so now we're getting to the point where we're encouraging people to take their hands off the wheel while we're driving.
No, this is a marketing concept to get cameras in cars, is what it is.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all. This is dumb. No, I don't like this. Not one bit. No.
I don't either, because the cameras are going to be used for much more than just the gestures to change songs, because behind the scenes they're going to have a bunch of ML determining, were you alert behind the wheel before that accident? Can we record the cameras that happened right before that happened? I don't know. That's interesting. I agree with you. The tech of change song with the gesture is kind of goofy. It's just the current tech we're in at the moment.
So stupid.
Probably won't last for very long, is my guess. But the camera that gets in the car will last.
I don't like that. I don't like people watching me. But
yeah,
I digress. I'm also going to go buy a mountain in Montana and have the nearest human be 100 miles from me. But that's that. So,
and get your Ford F-150 stolen? Yeah,
brother. I'll put a screwdriver hole in it myself. That's how I get into it every morning. So let's move on. Now, I've got some more news that's kind of funny.
All right.
There was the Michigan State Police, so the MSP, they just did a test or a study or some sort of experiment to find out what the fastest and quickest police car is nowadays. So like of all the current typical police cruisers, your Dodge Chargers with the V8, you've got the, I don't know, the Caprice, you've got the Ford Explorer and all that mumbo jumbo. They wanted to find out what's the quickest police car.
The quickest?
The quickest police car.
What do you mean? You have a Charger. What do you mean? It's built to drag race.
That's where my brain goes as well. So if I asked you, what is your first guess? A Charger, I'm guessing?
It's not a Capri. They don't have the Crown Vics anymore. They have the SUVs, but it's not an SUV. It has to be a Charger.
Okay. You are wrong, my friend. According to the MSP, the quickest police car nowadays is actually a Ford Explorer.
What?
Yeah, that's what hit me too. I was like, what? Wait, a Ford Explorer is the quickest police car? Is this real life right now?
Do they make the Chargers slower?
I don't know. All I know is that the Ford Explorer, it's called the FPIU, the FPU, the Ford Police Interceptor Utility is what this is called. It gets to 60 in just less than 5.5 seconds, which is actually a hell of a lot quicker than your BRZ, Derek.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
A Ford Explorer Police Interceptor would smoke the Subaru BRZ that you've got at home.
Holy moly.
That's insane. So apparently this FPU, your Ford Police Interceptor Utility, it gets to 60 in under 5.5 seconds because it's all-wheel drive with a 400 horsepower twin-turbo V6. Bro, what?
Oh.
Okay, sign me up for that job. Hell
Wait,
yeah.
Those are actually decent numbers for an SUV like that.
That's what I'm saying. Like 5.5 seconds, that's hot hatch territory to 60.
Yeah.
Hot hatch territory to 60, that's 5.5 seconds. Easy, right? And if you go back 10, 20 years, that's sports car territory, right?
Yeah, it is.
And this is a car that's got 400 horsepower, which that's what the new Nissan Z's got. That's more than the TSX Type S that we talked about last week.
Right.
What? And this is a Ford Explorer SUV Police Interceptor.
Okay. Well, I would have never guessed that. I do see a lot more
cool
of those
is
around.
that? Right, me too. And I see them, I'm like, okay, that's weird. I mean, you got the Chevy Tahoe police cars. You've got all of the other things. But apparently, yeah, MSP, the Michigan State Police, they did some sort of a study at Grattan Raceway, somewhere up there in Michigan, and found that the Ford Police Interceptor Utility is not only the quickest, but it was 0.7 seconds quicker to 60 miles an hour than the Dodge Charger rear-wheel drive V8.
What?
Yeah, exactly. That was my exact thought. What?
What? Is the Charger that slow, or is it? Did they reduce the speed? Did they?
I don't necessarily know that the Charger is much slower. It's that it's probably a hell of a lot heavier because by the time you get your bull bar and all that, and it's probably not as torquey, right? Charger is, I believe, a naturally aspirated V8, whereas this is a twin turbo V6, so it's going to have a bit more of that low torquey grunt with the turbo spooling. Dude, I don't know, but my brain was blown when I read this. Apparently, it's also 0.6 second quicker to 100 miles an hour than that Dodge Charger. It's just...
that makes no sense to me. No sense whatsoever.
This defies all logic. All logic.
If I were a cop and I was riding around in my Charger and my buddy came up and he roasted me up the line in his SUV, I wouldn't be real happy.
I'd be looking for a change in departments right there is what I'd be doing if I was one of those LEOs. Oh my God. Could you imagine that? So that's an interesting study. They also apparently pulled out a Mach-E police prototype. So apparently there's some sort of prototypes for the Mach-E, which we already talked about how much we hate them. But apparently this police version of the Mach-E was all-wheel drive with 480 horsepower, which... that's good numbers. So what I'm understanding is that it's essentially just like a Ford Mach-E GT with police livery and blue lights and stuff like that because it hits 60 in like 4 seconds or something like that. So it's quick, but it's electric. Of course it's going to be quick. We know that.
Right.
But I couldn't really see much of an application for an electric police car. I don't know that that's going to work very well because they drive a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too. They're putting a lot of miles on those vehicles, and it can be stop-go traffic. It can be you're just hauling from one point to the next. But it's gonna be a lot of you're not gonna have a lot of time to charge those.
That's what I'm saying. They're constantly turning and burning and turning and burning and turning and burning.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really see the application for these EV police cars. That just not yet, at least. That just doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah.
I would be curious to see the number of miles on average, like a shift is for a police cruiser. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I'm also going to say that's going to range hugely depending on like the county that you're in. So like, for example, we live in Sarasota County here in Florida. Sarasota County stretches for frigging ever. So you could go from like the furthest northwest corner of Sarasota County to the furthest southeast corner of Sarasota County. And that's like a solid hour plus trip just to get from county line to county line.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But if you're
yeah.
in, the city, it would be a different story because you're not going to be going very far. Your jurisdiction's pretty small.
Unless you're a cop that lives outside the city and commutes to the city for work, which most of those cops take their police cruisers home at night.
Yeah.
Which means if that's burning through 50 miles of range there, 50 miles of range back, that leaves you with no range to chase and pursue baddies.
Yeah, that's one of those odd situations where I don't know if an EV really makes sense.
Yeah. I know you want to EV the world, but I don't think it makes sense there. So let's move on, shall we?
Let's do it.
Any races happen over the past week?
There was 2 that we'll talk about. The first one being Formula Boring,
yes.
Which was Formula okay. It wasn't entertaining, but it wasn't boring.
Fair enough.
We started this race. This was the Turkish Grand Prix in Turkey. Going in with Lewis Hamilton having a 2-point lead or 2 to 3 point lead. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but it was really, really close to Max Verstappen in the championship. Lewis did decide to eat his engine penalty here, which, if you don't know, he took an engine penalty because he wanted to have a fresh power unit or a fresh engine for the rest of the season. Max did this, I think, a race or 2 ago. So what that ends up doing is putting you to the back of the grid. It doesn't matter where you qualify, you're going to be put in last place when you start the race if you change your engine. So they did.
Yep.
So he starts basically in a situation where he needs to salvage points right off the bat. He's dead last at the start of the race. So he is in save points mode, which is okay. By the time we get to the race, it is a very pitter-pattery rain. It's not a downpour where you got rivers running across the road, but it's enough of that tropical sprinkle where the road is not dry, but it's not soaking wet.
That'd be greasy?
It would be very greasy with some spray, but not a ton of spray.
Yeah.
So
that's just crappy conditions.
It's not good conditions. They did start the race on inters, or everybody started on inters. And I think it was about halfway through the race, there was starting to become a dry line forming. And it was one of those situations where there's a dry line on about half the track and there's a wet line on the other half of the track. I think it was Daniel Ricciardo ended up coming in and trying to try out some slick tires. It didn't go real well.
Oh, boy.
He didn't make it real far at all. It could have been Vettel. I don't remember who. Somebody came in, and they were the only ones to attempt slicks the entire race, and it didn't go super well. By the end of about halfway through, we get to the point where Max and Lewis need to make a pit stop because they've run their inter tires pretty far down to essentially slicks. And when you're running slicks in those conditions, it can work as long as you have hot tires. So the question was, if they come in, how long will it take them to heat the tires back up to be able to get grip again? And I believe
that's difficult to judge.
It is difficult to judge, especially when the rain on the radar just looks like blobs of like that, just light rain. And you can't tell if it's going to start raining more or if it's going to stop raining. It's really difficult to tell. It ends up to Max Verstappen, I believe, pits first, and he takes the inters and he takes the time penalty. And Lewis stays out, and he stays out, I think, a lot longer than the team had anticipated. He stayed out till about like 6 laps left in the race, whereas Max pitted with like 20 to 30 laps left in the race.
Wow, so that's way later.
Lewis was coming on the team radio as he was being called into the pits. He was in, I believe he was in second position at the point, or maybe he was in the lead when he got called in. And he was basically saying, I don't know why you're calling me in. And long story short, Mercedes botched this. They botched this real good.
Good.
They could have let Lewis run that race to the end with the tires that he was on, and he would have finished in the top 1 or 2. because he pitted, he went, I believe, from second to fifth and got stuck behind Sergio Perez in the Red Bull. And you better believe that he was blocking for his teammate Max Verstappen, who was in front of both of them in second place. So there were some strategy calls. There was some slidiness. There was some rain. There was some nasty conditions. In the end, we come out with Valtteri Bottas on top. He actually won the race because he made a good pit call and pitted about halfway through and then just ran the race out. I believe that he was also on pole. We come with Max Verstappen in second, so he does get a good haul of points. Sergio Perez in third, Charles Leclerc in fourth, and Lewis Hamilton in fifth. That does mean that going into the next race that Lewis will have not the points lead anymore, and Max will have the points lead. And I believe the lead is like 6 to 8 points. It's not tiny, but it's not huge.
It's just shaping up to be a good finish to the season.
Mm-hmm. So in Mercedes trying to salvage the most points they could, they kind of botched a call to pit Hamilton with about 6 laps left, where he thought he could have gone all the way on his tires, and they didn't. And it turns out he lost the championship lead because of it. And you better believe he was a whiny boy on the radio.
Well, of course. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Hamilton. He's a great driver, but he is a prima donna.
Mm-hmm. So it was somewhat entertaining.
Sounds like it. That sounds like some entertainment value. Wasn't quite as spicy as the Italian Grand Prix, but yeah, that sounds like some entertainment value for sure.
Yeah. But where there was some real good entertainment was IMSA. IMSA was at VIR, or Virginia International Raceway, this weekend. And I believe that we actually have a bunch of followers over there in VIR. And if you guys went to the race, hit us up on social media. I want to see some pictures and stuff.
Yes,
but
please
this was a GT-only event. It is one of the rare cases in their schedule where they do only GT cars. So GTLM with your Corvettes and your Porsches were there, and GTD was there as well. Mm-hmm. This race also started out where the track was damp. It wasn't damp enough to actually have rain tires on. And I don't believe that IMSA has slicks. I think they have full wets or dries. And there was no way you were going to be running full wets in the conditions that they were at.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think they do like that intermediate style tire. You're either full blown rock and roll dry conditions, or it's a monsoon and you need wets.
Yes.
Not much of an in between.
Yes. So I believe that the Corvettes take pole. I'm not really surprised. The race starts and the Corvettes pull out to a decent lead in GTLM. But I believe that the Porsche comes in and they take, there's Bamber and who's the other Porsche driver?
Cooper McNeil.
Okay, so Cooper McNeil started the race. They pulled him in about like 20 minutes into the race because that's all the drive time that was needed for the Pro-Am driver, whereas the Pro driver could go in with the last 2.5 hours. I think it's like 2.5 hours you can run in that event. So they put Bamber in with about 2 hours and 20 minutes remaining, and that takes them off schedule on the pit stops with everybody else. This is a 2 hour and 40-minute race, so he's only been on track for 20 minutes, which is not nearly enough for a tire stint or a fuel stint or anything like that. Puts them way off pace with the vets on the pit stop strategy. They do get, I believe, a caution, and they cycle everybody back up together, and we have Corvette, and Porsche lined up on a restart. And then the shenanigans start.
Oh, shenanigans.
If you have not seen this race, I do suggest you watch maybe the last hour and a half of this race, because there had to be 5 to 7 different times that a Porsche and a Corvette made contact with each other in very sketchy incidents.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
And it was between the Porsche and both of the Corvettes.
It's a 2-on-1. That's not a fair fight. What is this?
Yeah, it was a 2-on-1 for sure. It was very interesting to watch. By the end of the shenanigans that ensued, Bamber was, I believe, punted off at least two times. One of the Corvettes was punted off one time, and it ended up being he's trying to run down one of the Corvettes that had punted him off. He's about 10 seconds back. As he's running him down, he ends up just losing the car into, I believe, the corner where the tree used to be. I think it's called I can't remember the name of the corner.
Whatever it's called. I know what you're talking about.
It's a high speed. You're going down into a braking zone downhill. You're turning right, and it's like a hairpin type situation. He ends up losing the rear, slides into the tires, and basically ruins the race for them to be able to have a chance at the podium. But it was super, super entertaining to watch those guys brawl. The Corvettes also decided that they wanted to get into the mix in some GTD action, and near the end of the race, there were going to be tacos served the next day, but Corvettes had other plans.
No, they didn't get the Turner boys too, did they?
They did.
Oh.
They did. So the Turner boys were in the lead, and they were doing really well in the lead. They were getting run down by the PAF Porsche in the last 20 minutes of the event. And going into turn 1 at VIR, which is like a right-hander coming in really fast that's sketchy under braking, the Corvette just pitched it down the bottom, touched the curb with the right side rear wheels, lost the car, and on the outside happened to be the BMW. And they both spun. And that puts the Porsche through, and it was very spicy on the pit box, if you were watching.
Oh, boy. I could imagine. That would have been wild. I just have to say one quick correction. The WeatherTech Porsche, it's instead of Bamber, it's Kevin Astra. And because I'm a Porsche purist, I can't not correct that. I apologize.
You're right. Good point. Good correction. In the end, Corvette ends up winning. We get in GTLM, we get Nick Tandy and Tommy Milner in the number 4 Corvette. And then we get the number 3 Corvette after that, and then the 79 Porsche that finished third. So I imagine that they were spraying champagne on their podium of 3.
Yeah, I will never not laugh at that. Just the meme of, yes, we're third out of third. Wow.
And by the end of the GTD race, it was the number 9 Porsche with Lourdes Ventor, I can never say that name, and Zachary Robichon winning in the PAF Motorsports Porsche, which I love that Porsche because it does have that cool livery to it.
That plaid, it's so cool. And I also got to admit, I love the driver's suits as well when they go full out for, like, especially the Rolex. They do the full plaid blue jean designed driving suit. It's great. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Actually, one quick thing I want to mention about PAF. I was scrolling through social, and this is just a quick little plug. No sponsorship here. Just something that I happened to find was really freaking cool. I was scrolling through Instagram, I think it was, and I saw PAF posted something about, I don't know, some new merch that they came out with. They now have a scale model of the 12-hour of Sebring winning Porsche with the dirt on it.
Yeah.
That's so you can buy cool. I clicked on it and I was like, okay, so when you go to like purchase it, you have to select, do you want race start Porsche or race finish with the dirt and grime? And I was like, you know what? I wish more people that did these like models of cars would do that, because that is so freaking cool.
Yeah. We happened to be at that event and we saw that car afterward, and it's super cool to see it all beat up and dirty and grimy. That's how a car should be. How a race car should be, I should say.
Yep. Absolutely.
So IMSA was a show, a Corvette beats up on the rest of the field show. And if you have a chance to go watch that race, it was very entertaining.
Corvette taking lunch money out there. Well, so I guess that'll wrap us up for the racing stuff.
Indeed it does.
Now, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
And we're going to have to go deep into the philosophical brain here. Because,
okay,
stay with me. The question is simple but very difficult to answer. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Why do you love cars?
It's a metal box that takes me from A to B.
God damn it, Derek. Then get off this podcast, because you know that's not true. So for real though, why do you love cars? So, my dad sent me that, and he said, just think about it. I was like, so, okay, yeah. I started thinking, that's actually it's a simple question that is very difficult to answer for enthusiasts like us. So, Derek, why do you love cars?
Cars are an expression. Cars are a way of talking to other enthusiasts. You know this. I know this. Cars are an up and down roller coaster. You can be having a great day in a car, enjoying a drive, you feel the fizz, and then the next day your tire pops and you're stuck on the side of the road putting on the donut, and it's a pain in the ass. You could be late night trying to fix a piston that blew, and it's 2 a.m, and you got to have the wife's got to have the car ready for work in the morning, and the kids have to go to school. Cars are a whirlwind of emotion and personality. And even when you get rid of the first car that you owned, or any car that you owned for a long period of time and that you've had like a relationship with, because it's oddly enough, you actually have relationships with a car. It is like an emotional experience to get it, to get rid of it, to watch it show up in the beginning, to watch it leave, to the next person to have it. Cars are emotions and personality, and there's much more than just a metal box that brings you from point A to point B.
Yeah, that's very well said. That's it. That's it. Cars, to enthusiasts, cars are not just, like you said, a box that transport you from home to work to home to the grocery store to home to the bank to home to wherever to home. Cars are, you nailed it. Cars are relationships. You develop that relationship capital with your car. That's that emotion of, you wake up, you get woken up early one Sunday and you think, to hell with it, I'm gonna go for a drive. Not to anywhere, not for anything, just for a drive. It invokes that almost primitive, deep down, I don't know, whatever the word, it's not really lust, but it's just that love affair of, yeah, I'm going to take care of you. You're going to take care of me. We're going to go through our ups and downs. You're going to be a moody little bitch one day, and I'm going to be an asshole to you. And that's okay. It's just like any relationship, right? You're going to have your spats, and then you're going to have the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And it's a car. It's just, it is a full emotional expression of what you, and just, you really, get to know its quirks, right? You go over a speed bump one way, and you know that the dash won't rattle if you go over it diagonal left, but if you go over it diagonal right, the dash will rattle for the rest of the day, and you got to beat on the dash until you find the spot where it's rattling. You know just exactly how to come off the brake and onto the throttle so that you don't feel a little extra judder. There's just that, it is honestly a relationship. That is exactly what and why I and you and we as enthusiasts love cars.
Yeah, the fizz and that feeling of emotion, I think it's something that I don't know if it's just car enthusiasts. I think that everyone forms a relationship with their vehicle, but they don't know how to enjoy like driving the car.
Yeah, you're right. People may look at it and go, "It's a lovely looking car," whereas we can look at some cars and think, "Wow, that is truly beautiful." We can understand the difficulty of the engineering. We can understand the complexity of the suspension, and that all just plays into how much of a beautiful kind of a love story it is with a car, especially a car for an enthusiast. It's just the greatest thing in the world for me.
It's why we're doing this podcast.
That's it. That is exactly it. It's exactly why we do this podcast, because there's other people out there like us, and I know damn well there is. And hopefully they listen.
And we saw a lot of those other people as we were at the local Cars and Coffee in Sarasota this past weekend.
We did see a lot of those other people like us with various different kinds of cars. Jesus Christ.
A variety of different kinds of cars. So let's chat about some of this variety of cars.
Okay, let's do it.
Did you happen to see, I believe that there was a Lotus there, and it was orange and had tiger stripes on it?
Yes, the Tony the Tiger Rotus, as the plate said. They're great. I love that little Lotus. It was so cool. It was an Exige. Now, I have a statement that I have to say about the Lotus itself, and more specifically the Exige. I was scrolling through Facebook the other day, and I saw someone comment on a picture of a Lotus and said, "Why the hell do people like these Lotuses? Aren't they just more expensive Miatas?" And I was like, "Oh shit. That kind of felt like a dagger and twisted a little bit, and just because I don't own a Lotus, but I love Lotus. It's so small. You sit on the floor. It's just such a little shoe of a car. It's honestly like the shoes that are like the toe shoes. They're very light, very nimble, and you feel everything.
That's interesting. I never thought about a Lotus that way. I don't think that it is a Miata. I think it has. Oh man, I can't even say more personality because a Miata has a lot of personality. Holy moly!
Yeah,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I saw that, and at first I was about to just like full blown let it tear into this guy, let it rip, and then I had to stop, and I was like, well, wait a minute. Hold on. Does he actually have a point or not?
He might.
He might. And that's what scares me is that he actually may have a point. And
you get a Miata for it to be a fun sports car, right? It's relatively cheap for what you're getting for the purity of the car. That is the answer if you're going to get into racing or something or autocross or whatever. You get a Miata. But a Lotus is just a step above that. Because
it's quicker.
It's gonna turn a lot more heads than a Miata is. It's not gonna be the kind of car though that you take to the beach, whereas you could take
Correct.
a Miata to the beach.
It was hard for me to. I mean, that I'll walk in that thin line of like, does he have a point, or is this just some uncultured swine who is chirping at me here? But either way, the Lotus that we saw at Cars and Coffee was great. Orange with the tiger stripe livery. Plus, one of my favorite things about the Lotus that we saw, well, there's two things that I'm going to say stick out the most about that Lotus. One, the roof scoop. I am a sucker for a roof scoop. I love a roof scoop.
Yep.
Oh, a roof scoop is just so freaking cool to me. And two, the rear diffuser. Oh, that rear diffuser was freaking sick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's just beefy.
I'm going to try to find a photo of it for those who are watching on YouTube. I think, yeah, here we go. We have a photo of the rear diffuser, and it was a beefy boy for that car. It did look like this car had race brakes, and it had been well spec'd out.
Yeah, it did look like this car had some purpose, some real purpose, not just because you are a British guy and you want something British that has a Japanese heart.
Right. But there was one specific car that I'm going to bring up here in a moment that I think might be an uncultured swine of an owner. And I don't think you'll disagree with this. So for those who are watching on YouTube, there was a chrome Lamborghini that showed up.
Oh, I hated this car so much. And I'm sorry if you're listening, but oh my God, it was so bad. Oh, it was just full-blown chrome wrap with an awful wing on the back. Like a cheap, crappy wing that the 16-year-old puts on his Civic because he thinks it's a wing and it's got downforce. And one of the worst parts about it is because I'm like an uber like car spotting nerd, I happen to know the correct front bumper design for that specific year generation of Lamborghini Gallardo. And that is not the correct one. So they got some like cheap aftermarket front bumper splitter, like the whole front lower grills and all that.
Yeah.
That is actually the wrong lower grills for that car. Like that's not what came factory.
You are an encyclopedia of car information.
Useless, granted.
Uh-huh.
But I saw it and I was like, so someone rear-ended something or hit something with this Lamborghini is what I'm imagining. And then the owner was like, let's botch it back together. I found this cheap bumper on eBay for $20. Can you wrap it chrome with the rest of the car and put this massive wing on the back? And I apologize if you're listening. Actually, no, sorry, not sorry. Do it properly. Don't do it at all. Boom. There it is. I said it. I said it. Hate me all you want. I said it.
I think I'm with you on this one. I don't think that this is the car to put chrome on. I get that you want to be a Lamborghini and you want to be out there and you want to be the center of attention, which you're there. If you have that car, you don't need chrome. You can just keep a nice paint scheme on that car and it'll look much better. But That was their design. That was their decision. So let's go to another controversial take, which is a Corvette that showed up with gray paint in bright neon yellow to green rims.
I remember seeing that, and I'm looking at the picture that you're sharing right now, Derek, and it is bold.
Mm-hmm.
That is a bold choice. I am not a fan of that at all.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like that. No.
I think it works. I think the contrast actually works on that car.
I do like contrast, but if the car was black, maybe.
Really?
Maybe. But
See, I think
also with the amber corner markers, right? The amber reflectors on the front, that kind of ruins it for me.
I think that this car on a racetrack would look really good.
Sure. But I bet you that car's never been on a racetrack.
I don't see anything that leads me to believe it would be.
What kind of person paints their wheels as bright green yellow as you can possibly get? Is it the person that's going to go take it to a track on a weekend?
No.
Probably not. I agree.
No, it's not.
I think he's probably friends with the chrome Lamborghini.
I don't know about that, but I like it. I think it's different enough, and it's not super bold. It's not a chrome Lamborghini. It's not like it's not trying to lay low by any means, but it doesn't want to be the center of attention either.
With wheels like that?
You're not the dead center of attention.
Oh, okay, maybe. See, I would say it could work if they did the wheels in like the actual Corvette racing yellow that they put on the yellow for the livers that like the Corvette race cars. That might work.
Okay, I'll give you that. I think that would work better. Yes.
But this just looks like it got lost going to a rave.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Yeah. There was one car that I saw that I thought was a really nice spec of a car, and it was a Viper.
Oh, I loved that orange Viper that we saw there.
Mm-hmm.
That was such a great car. I love that car.
Do you know the color of this orange or the specifics of this orange?
Because it's a Mopar, I can't say that I do. Do you know?
I don't know, color? But I figured that the Encyclopedia of Useless Information could know. But
that's gonna bother me because now I'm gonna have to find out what it is. Maybe Orange Crush Orange or something like that. I don't know.
It could be.
I'll have to find out.
I dig the spec of this Viper. It's clean. It's got the black rims with the orange paint. It's got the black accents for the aerodynamics on the front. It's got a big black wing. It all blends together very well.
It reminds me of the Vipers that raced in IMSA.
Yes.
With the extra aero. I don't think this is technically a full-blown ACR. It could be. I don't remember seeing badging for an ACR or not, but all I know is this is some real proper race car style aero. Front canards that are big dive planes. Like, this is a proper aero spec car. It looks great.
Speaking of proper specs, this showed up. Can you tell the audience what this is?
Yes, so audience, we are looking at a black Porsche 992 Turbo S on some extraordinarily beautiful custom 3-piece HRE wheels. In gold. The wheels are gold, by the way.
In gold.
I am big fan. I've seen this car many times. This car comes out to every kind of cars and coffee or caffeine and gasoline. I've actually posted a photo or a video of this car doing a launch through, I think it was IG, or like an in-car video of this car doing a launch, and this thing is violent. It's pretty heavily modified. It's a proper rocket ship. Actually, you know what's funny? Real quick, at one of the last couple caffeine and gasolines, I was talking to the owner of this car. He was looking at buying a McLaren 720.
Okay.
And my dad and I asked him, like, okay, so what's your favorite car? And of all the cars that were around, he goes, my 992 Turbo S that he has. So that car that we're looking at, this black on gold, is his favorite car. And this guy also owns a Ferrari 488. He owns a Ferrari F8. He owns he's a collector. He's got pretty much everything you can imagine. Okay. And the 992 Turbo S, at least he said, was his favorite. And I can't blame him.
Is this the way you would spec this car?
The only thing I would really do different would be the Porsche carbon ceramic brake calipers instead of in yellow, in black, because that is now a factory option. You can do them in black. That's
really?
Pretty much it, yeah.
You would take the rims? You would take the gaudy rims?
I love those gold wheels, yeah. Gold on black is so good. That combo of gold on black, that's good looking to me. Maybe gold on black works. Gold on black works.
Gold on blue works. Gold on black does work. I'll give you that. I'm not sure if I'd take this spec, though. I like what he's done with the badging and the gold, but it seems like you're trying to be the center of attention. It's like the Corvette, right?
But not really, because they're not quite as bold.
They're pretty bold.
They're bold, but they're not highlighter colored. They're gold.
Yeah, but it was a lighter gray to more blend in, whereas this is like dark black, so it sticks out a little more, and the gold rims stick out on that dark black.
But it's a contrast that works. To me, the gray on the yellow, the gray on that highlighter yellow, that just doesn't work to me. Like that just doesn't jive. Black on gold or black on green, that works. But the gray just doesn't.
We can agree to disagree.
I love this car. We can agree to disagree because I love this 992 Turbo S on gold HRE wheels. The wheels alone cost more than my damn car.
Oh, I'm sure. I think that this is the most flamboyant Porsche I've seen in a long time, though.
It's up there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. I mean, and with how modified it is, it's pretty much like Tesla Plaid acceleration. It's flipping insane.
Speaking of stupid fast, what about this?
So you want to know something funny? So for everyone listening, we are looking at a picture of a matte black Ferrari F8 on custom wheels. That actually belongs to the guy that owns that black Porsche too.
Damn it.
He actually took delivery of that car at Cars and Coffee. I found this out through social. He literally took delivery of it from the tint shop, Ceramic Pro Sarasota, that did the matte black wrap on that. So the Ceramic Pro brought the car to him at Cars and Coffee.
So this was the first time that he got the car?
With its matte black appearance, yep.
That's kind of interesting.
That's pretty cool. So let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
I know you're a fan of matte colored paint. I know you are. You love matte paint.
I like me some matte.
Do you like this matte, though?
I think I do. I think I do, but I don't think I would have gone with black rims. I think I would have wanted contrast.
So, you know what? Here's my opinion on this car. I am never been a fan of matte colored cars, but it works on this.
Yeah, it definitely works.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of the Ferrari F8s, which is the newest Ferrari mid-engined car, essentially, that replaced like the 488. I've never been the biggest fan of them. I've thought they're okay. Like, they're pretty, yeah. But I'll tell you, I think seeing it in matte black is maybe my favorite that I've seen it of the F8. It makes it much more, gives it more presence. Just this menacing, like, Darth Vader, if Darth Vader drove a Ferrari.
It is menacing. It is very menacing.
Now, I'm going to go a step further. You would rather have different color wheels. I like black wheels, but I'm not a huge fan of the wheels that they put on it.
Okay.
I think this car would have been better with different black wheels. Black wheels would be fine because it keeps that menacing, stealthy presence. But here's why. It's got the red carbon ceramic brake calipers to match the red interior.
Right.
So that works, and I think with different color wheels, I think that wouldn't work quite as well. But I really like the spec of it. It looks just, it's maybe one of my favorite Ferrari F8s that I've seen.
I I don't think I've seen any Ferrari F8s off the top of my head, so this is the first one I've seen, and it's it's not bold, but at the same time it's really bold.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. It's bold but not bold, but
Yeah,
it's not bold but it's bold. But it's just, I like it. Yeah,
it's
I like
kind
it a
of
lot.
all over the place, and I do like it. I do think that the owner does like his bold cars, from what I can tell.
I I'm gonna say the word that I'm gonna use to describe it is just simply menacing. It just looks menacing.
Okay, you like menacing. You might like this right here.
Oh, yes. So we're now looking at a picture of the Magno Green Hell Mercedes-Benz AMG GTR. And yes, I know the paint color because it's named after the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Indeed, it is. So,
Love that car.
do you like this color
I do.
over the specific color of the blue that was also there?
Oh yeah, because there was that matte blue AMG GTR. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, mm, of the two matte colored AMG GTRs there, I love green cars, but that matte blue really does it for me.
I think it comes down to the mood you're in, dude. If you want to be the center of attention, like that matte green is, it's it. It's it without being over the top.
It's sick.
And if you want to blend in and have a nasty sleeper, not even a sleeper, but like a blend in nice car, that blue works. It's really nice.
I do like them both. It's two very good specs. Very, very good specs.
I, that's a tough choice, but I think I'm going blue.
Me too. I think I'd go, wow, but the green is so, oh, I can't describe, I can't pick. Toss a coin. Yes, that's the one I take. The blue or the green. Because I like the green, but I like the blue, but I like the green, but I like the blue. I like them both.
Ay. It's a tough choice. So let's move on to probably your favorite car at this show. At least that's my guess. What is this?
Ooh, okay. So for everyone listening and now watching on YouTube, this is a full-blown race car. It is a Porsche 911 GT2 RS Club Sport. It's freaking sick.
So is this a race car?
Yes, it is not street legal. It is an actual race car. It is, there is nothing about that is street legal whatsoever.
And this is a club sport. So what would this run in?
Its own class, really.
Okay.
It's not going to run in. It'll run in like PCA, Porsche Club of America, club sport classes. It'll run in private track day things. It's essentially like the super wealthy's play toy of the most wild Porsche track car that you're going to get. That's not a like sanctioned, like that's going to compete in IMSA or the FIA and all that. So like the thing is that some things will comply with the FIA standards. Some things won't. You could essentially make it comply. I think there's some things that you could make comply with SRO, but it doesn't really race in anything because it's bigger and a little bit more heavier than all the other stuff. It's sick. It's immense. It's a monster. It's a GT2 RS that's been turned into a dedicated track car. It's stupid crazy.
Okay, so it lived life as a GT2 RS and then was transformed into a racetrack car. Okay.
Yeah, it's bonkers. I mean, it's just...
It looks exactly like a pure race car to me. It's not a GT3 Cup car, though, right?
Correct. A GT3 Cup car is naturally aspirated. This is forced induction. This is a turbo.
Okay. I see.
So this is actually, you know what? This is the same kind of car that won the Pikes Peak, the Champion Motorsports Porsche that we talked about when Pikes Peak happened in, God, what was it, June or July?
Mm-hmm.
They ran a GT2 RS Club Sport up Pikes Peak.
Okay.
This is the kind of car that they ran.
So this is the very expensive toy for Porsche
Yes.
without getting into super hardcore racing. But you cannot
Yeah.
bring this on the road.
Legally? No.
Okay.
No. That is not legal for road use. Not even close.
Interesting. Would you say that this is your car spot of the week?
I'm going to go with a hell yes. That's going to be an absolute hell yes for my car spot of the week.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
100%. I've never seen one in real life before.
Okay, cool. Was there anything else
So-
you saw while you were out and about?
Sure. So yeah, outside of cars and coffee, I did see some other stuff. I've actually driven past a Ford dealer a couple times, and I've seen the new Ford Maverick that we had talked about.
Ooh. Okay, the truck.
Yeah. So it's like competing with the Hyundai Santa Cruz that we talked about.
That mess of a car. Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's kind of like that mess of a car too. I'm just not really a fan
Really?
because it's just like it's
It's small, right?
yeah, it's like a mini truck. It just seems freaking weird. Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of odd. Like it just seems like the Ranger and the Tacoma and the Chevy Colorado. Those are like proportional in some weird way.
Mm-hmm.
But the Maverick, and I really didn't get a great look at it. I was just driving by. So as I whizzed past a Ford dealership, I was like, oh shit, that's a Ford Maverick. Whoa. And I just, from a quick glance, it's just kind of like the Santa Cruz where it doesn't seem super proportional, I guess
Yeah.
is the word that I want to, it's not like awful looking. It's just kind of like weird.
So do
Like-
you think that the new Tundra is going to have that vibe as well?
No, because it's big. The Tundra's big. And the Tacoma's getting bigger too. And those are also body on frame versus a unibody like the Maverick.
True. Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just these unibody style truck things that are just proportionally awkward. But that was one thing I saw. And since it's new, I figured it's worth chatting about.
Yeah. I have yet to see one, but when I do see one, I'll give you my feedback on it. I do like the smaller trucks, so we'll see what I think of it.
Yeah. One other thing that I saw that was just kind of interesting was, as car enthusiasts, you just know when you've got another enthusiast next to you. I was really close to the curvy road that you and I both know and love,
Mm-hmm.
and I was right next to it. I didn't get to go down the curvy road because I was busy, but turning down the curvy road was a Ferrari F430.
Oh, damn.
One of you and I, we've talked about this. It's one of like our just all around favorite supercars.
Yeah.
Because it's just so pretty. It makes a great noise. So as we were driving down the road that leads to the curvy road, just after a big 4-way stop sign, we were right next to each other, and we kind of looked over each other as we were driving, gave us a little head nod, and he gave me a little pull right next, just a small little,
Yeah.
it was just like 10 miles an hour. It wasn't much.
Uh-huh.
But he dropped it down a couple of gears, and that naturally aspirated V8 just sung beautifully into my open window, into my ear, and it was and he pulled down the curvy road while I had to keep going, and I knew exactly what he was about to go do, and it just made me feel like, this is blissful. Someone's using this Ferrari F430 to make it go sing down a curvy little road. That just makes me happy to see.
It does. It's exactly what that car should be doing. It's exactly pretty much the road that car should be on around here. And it's always awesome to see those expressions come from other car enthusiasts where if it's like a drift guy, he'll give you a little kick out. If it's somebody who has a supercar that they know sounds good, they'll throw it down a couple gears and give you that nice little rev match. Oh, those are just great. They're great moments.
They really are. They really, really are. I love them to death.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was another spot. But my spot of the week is going to that GT2 RS Club Sport. No doubt. No doubt.
Okay.
What about
Reasonably
you? What about you?
So I didn't want to pick a car that was in the car show, but there was one car that was outside the car show that we happened to see on the way out.
You know, it's funny with these car shows, cars and coffees and stuff like that. Sometimes you find some absolute gems parked just outside. Not necessarily involved, but just outside. You know they're there to go look, but they don't want to necessarily have any attention drawn to them, so they're parked on the side. You find some really cool stuff just on the edge. edge.
I know. You can. I mean, you'll sometimes see like Ferraris and McLarens just on the edge of the car show. It's wild. But we happen to spot a BMW M5 competition, and I have the picture of it here. And I think this is a very well-spec'd vehicle.
It is how you should spec an M5, in my opinion.
I agree.
It is great looking. Yeah.
It's white. It has the BMW colors across the front, the very bottom front of the bumper, and then it has along the side of the cars. It has black rims. They're definitely aftermarket. I don't happen to know. Do you happen to know the rim company?
They may be Vision forged, but I'm not really sure. All I know is that from what I could tell, they do look like forged wheels, so they're going to be just a strong, lighter weight wheel, which would make sense on that car.
They got nice sport tires. It has the gold brake calipers that BMW puts on it, and it looks really good with the contrasting black rims. Overall, a clean, super, super clean, nice-looking spec for a BMW M5 competition. And
yeah, that's like one of the ultimate dailies. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would love to daily this car.
Yeah, it's bonkers fast. It's going to be comfortable. It looks great. It's one of the only modern I'm convinced the only modern BMWs that look good are the M2, the M5, and the M8. Everything else is crap. But this I like. I like this a lot.
Yeah, I am 100% on board. I would love to daily this car, and you could actually take like 4 people reasonably around in this car on a daily basis.
One more detail that I do want to point out about this M5 that you're talking about. Take a look at its roof.
Yeah, I can't tell if that's carbon.
It is. It's a carbon roof. Yep, carbon roof. Keeps more weight lower.
Oh, it is. It is.
Yes. And the carbon mirrors. It's a hell of a spec.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a spec. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this M5.
How much is that spec? That's probably pricey.
I'm sure that's probably like 120 grand worth of an M5. Especially by the time you get those wheels, and it's not stock, so I'm sure there's more to it. That's every bit of like $120,000 worth of an M5.
That's a lot, but for a daily that's super nice and clean like that, I don't know. Makes me think.
Comes down, would you rather have that or the Mercedes E63 AMG?
Yeah.
Yeah, the luxury daily 4-door.
Right.
If you're spending that money, you're looking at one of the two, and those are. It's a great spec.
So I think that wraps up the car spots of the week. Let's move on to the final part here. The I wish they would have. Okay. Do you have an I wish they would have for this week?
I do, and this is going to appeal to all Floridians and people that might live locally.
Oh, God.
So, down here in Florida, we have something called snowbirds. So for people that live outside of Florida, this is not the state bird of Florida. No, these are people that come down to Florida for the winter to escape the snow. They're nicknamed our snowbirds. And snowbird season, and it's not a season where you can hunt these people. It's just the season when they come down. The snowbird season usually starts kind of fallish, beginning of winter. So close to now, October, November-ish, right?
They're flocking in November.
Yes, the flocks start to make their way south in about November. Late October, early November, right?
Yep.
Well, that means that we have an influx of new residents and people and tourists, which is great for the economy. I love that, right? Keeps the dollars a-flowing. But here's the problem. Our roads are struggling with the amount of people we have on the roads already. And if we add another 300,000 people with snowbirds in, like, what is happening? And now here's the issue. As I've been driving around, I've been noticing new signs starting that they are starting construction on one of the most major intersections and off-ramps that Sarasota County has right now as snowbird season is starting. I wish they would have is I wish they would not have freaking started major construction right as the tourist season ramps up. Are you kidding me, Florida? Come on, get your act together.
When would you rather them start it?
Summer, and do it at night. That way it's a little bit cooler, right? We're not killing the construction workers. And it's a highway. You can do the construction at night. This is not like, come on, guys. Come on.
Do you
Come
know what they're
on.
doing?
I construction, they're doing work is what they're doing.
Okay.
I heard they're going to be doing a diverging diamond, but I can't attest to that, which is a type of traffic interchange where you kind of go crisscross the other side of the road and come back, making on ramps and off ramps easier and more efficient. I get that, but in the meantime, it just clogs things up. And they're starting it in the very beginning of snowbird season at like the most peak traffic time you can possibly imagine for us here in Florida.
I know that these projects start from like years and years back, right? So they probably could schedule them a little bit better, but I don't know. Is there really a good time to do them? Like summertime, you do have a lot of people going out to the beaches. You have spring break, so that's another busy time. You have snowbird season, which lasts for half of the freaking year. They're just doing it when they can. They're just doing it when all the cards fall into place and they have the permits and they have the construction equipment to do it.
I suppose, but damn, it's really inconvenient for us.
Would you quit complaining? You should see the roads up north. You know what it's like to drive around in New York, and it's just god awful.
I do know what some of the northern roads are like, and they are horrible. Yes.
Oh, they're terrible.
Every 5 minutes there's potholes, which is why one of my wheels is bent. Thank you very much, potholes of the world. I just don't.
There's tolls everywhere. It's terrible. You can't see the lane lines. Whereas
and
here,
why are there
it's
tolls?
nice.
Why, another, I wish they would have. I wish they would not do tolls if they're not going to fix the goddamn roads that they're tolling us to toll on the roads. Like, if I'm paying you money, better keep that road damn good. Sorry, I'm just going on a road construction rant at the moment, as you can probably tell, because I just last week had to pull another freaking nail out of my tires because of all this goddamn construction. Yes, I am being a grumpy old man, and stay with me. I apologize for everyone.
Speaking of tires, you want to hear I wish they would
have? Yes, hit me.
I wish the tires weren't so damn annoying to take on and off the rim.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever had to take a tire on or off a rim before?
Literally yesterday, yes.
Oh, that sounds enjoyable.
No.
Did you have to get a device to strap it in, to use a little pry bar to get the actual tire off the rim, and it's stupid tight, and you got to go put them out in the sun to let them heat up so that they expand a little bit? It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, we actually did it at my father-in-law's shop. He owns a body shop. So he's got all the machines and everything, and even with the machines, it's still a bit of a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm. We used to have one when I worked at the motorcycle shop that was by hand, and it was like the one thing that everybody dreaded to do. It was a pain in the ass. All you had was like a pry bar and a little bit of soap that you could squirt on there to lubricate things up, and you would just cook the tires all day long so that you could pray that they come off of these magnesium Ducati rims, and they never did. Never, ever. It was terrible.
Yes.
I don't know why
does make sense.
They couldn't come up with like a mechanical, I don't know, like a clip or a mechanism that you could actually take these on and off in a meaningful, easy way.
Like in your garage at home.
Yes.
That would make sense.
I can change the oil for my car, but in the garage at home, without getting a whole lot of parts and a tire removal machine, I can't just change my tires. It's annoying.
True. But then again, tire shops need to stay in business somehow.
Make it easier. It seems like it's very doable. It's a solvable engineering problem.
I think you're probably right, yes. I agree with you. I wish they would have.
I think that's all I got.
All right. Okay, so if that's all you got, then let's go ahead and wrap up. So this is going to wrap up episode 33. Thank you to everyone that's watched on our new YouTube at We Are Auto and listened around the world. Please make sure you do us a couple of big favors. If you could please go on to our Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen and leave us a 5-star rating and write out a comment. Also, if you could send us your I wish they would haves or any related news articles and stuff that you find out that you'd like for us to chat about on air. And please make sure you follow us on social. Again, YouTube, our new YouTube is We Are Auto. Facebook is We Are Auto. Instagram, We Are Auto _, which we're a bit more active on. And our TikTok at We Are Auto. So again, that's going to wrap up episode 33. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.